Hey everybody, it's Frankie here from Frank Money Talk, and today I am partnering with Variety Vibes Radio to bring you a very special guest. You may know her. Her name's Montria, and she is an amazing artist, manager, and more. We're going to be talking to her today about her new music coming up and all the amazing work that she's doing, as well as giving you a shot to get to know her a little bit better, learn about her background and how she arrived where she is today. Did you want to say hi to everyone, Montria?
Hey everybody.
Awesome. So I was able to learn a little bit about you, and it's interesting because I didn't hear of you yet, and I was introduced to you through Greg from Variety Vibes Radio, and I got to say, just even just the videos on your YouTube, just amazing. I mean, your voice is amazing. It's hypnotic. It's entrancing. It's calming. Have you always been able to sing like that? I mean, did you just come out of the womb with that magical just energy?
I would definitely have to say it came from my parents, but yes, I definitely started singing at a young age, and just exploring styles and different vocal capabilities and just in different genres. So it's been an experience. It's been a journey. It's been fun.
That's amazing. And so, where would you say you grew up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Maryland, in the Howard County area, born and raised. And I started off at Celebration Christian Academy, which was originally called Long Reach Church of God Christian Academy. And there I kind of found my voice through music. My principal had noticed me and was like, he told my parents, like, that girl can sing. And then that's when I started to explore the gift more and I started to step out of my comfort zone. Before then, I was super shy. I wouldn't speak to anyone. I definitely wouldn't sing. But I definitely found my voice through music. Grew up there and then went to high school at Centennial and then college in Ohio, Kent State, and pursued musical theater.
Wow. Yeah, I want to kind of take a step back. Something you mentioned there is as far as like you were kind of shy growing up, and it's really interesting with parents. Sometimes you ever see like a kid, and maybe you experience this yourself. You're
Mhm.
introduced to someone new, probably an adult, and you pause. Maybe you don't say anything, and then what do most parents say? They say, "Oh, well, Montreal is just shy. That's just the way she is, right?"
Mhm, mhm.
And so
Yeah.
what happens is kids hear that again and again, and then they start to internalize it, and then they think that they're shy and that's a bad quality, or they don't learn to speak up for themselves. I mean, would you say that that's something you see, or how did your parents sort of handle that?
So my parents, I was born and raised in the church, and so it was definitely the most respectful thing is to like always greet people that were older than you know, always calling them sister or brother,
Mm.
and always like raising your voice to say hello, never just walking by anybody. And that used to pain me because I did not want to say hi. Like I just wanted to stick to myself. But I think that that helped me, you know, speak up a little bit more too, like even though it was kind of annoying when I was younger. Now I think it's a great quality to have because no matter who's coming in the room, I'm always going to greet somebody. I will never like look over a person. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's really interesting that you mentioned that. So just sort of your own experience, almost like a teacher or a coach, that because sometimes in a classroom, especially these days, classrooms are so busy. It's like kids who do the right thing or maybe are quiet, don't cause any trouble. It's almost like they get ignored, right? Because the teacher or whoever that leader is, they're so focused on almost putting out a fire or managing behavior or trying to help the kids who are maybe a little bit more behind.
Mhm.
And so those other kids who are just doing the right thing or maybe could really use that encouragement, they don't get it, right? Uh,
Yeah. And I used to be a teacher myself. So during the pandemic, well, before the pandemic, I was traveling overseas. I performed in Southeast Asia, and I came back, and everything was at a standstill. And so I decided to go into teaching during the pandemic. And I say this because I had to he'll deal with kids firsthand, you know, all different types of personalities, shy kids, the very outgoing kids, the ones that just didn't have necessarily any direction or didn't know what they were capable of. And so it was really great to kind of be able to see myself in some of these kids and to be a part of their journey and to see them blossom. And so even though growing up, if there were some kids that were super shy and they didn't get the attention, I made it my business to make sure that they did. With the kids that I was able to nurture and to coach and teach. So yeah, it was a beautiful experience because I got to see those kids grow, even in the span of a year or two. And those younger years are so pivotal. So I think
Mm.
that teaching is such a humbling, beautiful, challenging job that can be overlooked a lot of the times, but they are a pivotal part of these kids' journey. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't change that experience for the world, and I love my kids.
Wow. And so do you feel like your own experiences, that's part of what led you to becoming a coach and mentor to really people of all ages, but or was there sort of like a moment where people kept asking you, hey, how did you do that? How did you get your music up? How did you spread it around? How did you go on tour? Because you've done
Yeah.
so much over your career so far.
Thank you.
And then you sort of saw that pattern. I mean, can you walk me through that a little bit?
Yeah. So, to answer your question, over time, so like I was doing a lot of musical theater and a lot of artistry, and that those were big passions of mine. And I knew that there were so many people that poured into me at a young age that it was time to start now. I didn't realize it was going to be so early in my journey, but I knew it was time to start pouring into other kids as well while I continue my career. And there were a couple of students and parents that were asking me for individual voice lessons. And I think that I really wasn't going to explore teaching until one of my friends had said, "Hey, like you're meant to do this like as part of your journey as well." Because back when I was younger, I had hemorrhaging polyps on my vocal folds, which is basically just nodules. And this was back in high school. I was still not necessarily the best trained at that point. I was still working off of raw talent, and I had to slow down. And the doctor was saying it's either going to be vocal surgery or living with the nodules, and you won't have your voice back at 100%. Thankfully, they healed. I had to do 2 months of vocal rest, complete vocal rest, where I couldn't speak, I couldn't sing, and then came back with the best praise report ever. They had completely healed. I was just left with like little slight nodules. But then that made me an advocate for vocal health and making sure that kids didn't have to go through what I went through growing up. And if I could give them access to lessons and to proper vocal training at a younger age to prevent any type of damage early on, that was a goal of mine, and that has been what has pushed me forward in vocal teaching.
That's amazing. I mean, there's so much that you said there. Like we could have a whole conversation just around
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously you have natural talent, right? I mean, that's obvious. But a lot of people are naturally talented. What
Mhm.
was the differentiator there for you? Because you had this adversity. Most people would have quit. I mean, just most people fail to show up, right? Especially consistently. Even if they're talented, they sort of lean on that talent. But what you're saying is, despite the adversity, you came out of that even stronger, right? Because
Mhm.
then you understood the importance of technique, sustainability, being able to build a career out of that. I mean, how have you always just been so insightful? Like, what was the shift, or how did you feel like, what, I really need to spread this message to others?
Yeah, I just knew it was something I was called to do. I knew that this wasn't part of my journey for no reason. I wasn't going through these things for
Mm,
no reason. And so I knew I had to share this information. I knew I had to educate people as much as possible because I didn't know about it. And so the more you know, the more you can pass on to the next person. So that has been beautiful, being able to just be a resource, and how speech pathology, speech therapy is just so incredible for the voice. And there was one moment where if I hadn't pursued musical theater, I was going to pursue speech pathology. So but I'm grateful that I'm on the journey I am now. Who knows? I might visit that again soon.
yeah, yeah, and before we get, because I want to talk about being off Broadway, because that was something that like jumped out at me, and that was so cool. Well,
Yeah.
because not everyone's even familiar with that scene. I'm from California, and of course, in San Francisco, we have amazing theater, but not everyone grows up with that sort of opportunity to experience the arts in that way. So I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Before that, though, I mean, would you say that a lot of people got their start in the church? I mean, if not for those church choirs, would we know some of the talents and some of the amazing energy and people that we know today?
Right. I mean, a lot of people got their start in the church. I did. I started it off in CCM music, and then, towards the end of high school, I would say I transitioned into R&B, and neo soul, new age funk, and explored that genre. But a lot of people definitely get their start in the church. A lot of people definitely find their voice in the church and the confidence, to
Mm.
be singing, because it does take a lot, even in the church. It takes a lot of confidence to be singing in front of all those people. So you definitely find a sense of community, encouragement, and your voice.
Yeah, that's really special. Thank you for sharing that. So,
Yes.
for the folks that aren't as aware, maybe most people have heard of Broadway and seen a Broadway show.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about? And then I really want to share some of your music here. Can you
Yeah.
talk about, like, what is that process like? I mean, did you just show up or someone gave you, someone called you or saw you on YouTube and just like handed the whole thing to you, or
No.
and what's the right?
So,
And that's what we've been sort of hinting at, right? And but then
mhm,
w-
mhm.
talk a little bit more about first understanding Broadway, but then off Broadway and how that's special,
Yeah.
and when that part of your journey started. So I know that was a lot, so I'll let
Yeah, it was
take it.
beautiful. So I'll talk about a little bit leading up to it and then off Broadway. So I did a lot of musicals in college. Some of my favorites, one play that was my all-time favorite in college was Intimate Apparel. Played Mamie, and then another favorite musical of mine was All Shook Up. I played Lorraine. If you guys are familiar with any of these shows, Kiss Me Kate as Hattie. And so after school, I did auditions. I had a senior showcase, and I booked Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, and I performed over in Southeast Asia for about 7, 8 months. And before that, that was a whole process. I met with agents. When I was in New York, I was trying to decide between either going overseas or moving straight to New York. I didn't necessarily have the finances to move straight to the city, and so I said, "Okay, I will stack up, go over to Asia, perform, save, then come back." The pandemic happened, and I was at a standstill, just like so many other incredible actors and actresses. And so I moved back to Maryland. And in that time, I auditioned probably every other day, and I was teaching, and I would get auditions late in the middle of the night. Sometimes I would get an audition at 12, and it would have to be turned in the next morning at 2 a.m., some overnight auditions. And so it has been a constant grind, and it took me 2 years to book that off Broadway show. And it was just being consistent through everything, whether you were happy, whether you were sad, you had to push through. And it takes a lot of faith and a lot of encouragement from your community, and a lot of just believing and knowing that God has something great for you. And I had to trust in that. And even now, I'm still trusting in that. Um, so I auditioned. And in my second year of being home in the pandemic, I submitted for Sisters, the musical, off Broadway musical, and completely forgot about it. I was on to the next audition and the next and the next and the next. And then a month later, I saw an email from them, and they said, "You got a call back." And I was like, "What?" Sisters. Okay, cool. And so I submitted that call back. And then after that, a week later, they were like, "You have another call back." And I was like, "Okay." And so there was another call back in person in New York. So I had to take the bus, and then I had to get to New York. I had to do the audition the same day and then take the bus back home that same day. And I had this surreal feeling like things were coming full circle. Something was about to happen from this. And then I got another email, and then they said, "You're for final callbacks." And so I had to go back to New York again, and went back up. And during this time, which was so beautiful, my boyfriend was with me, and he was there for my final callback. And we were also shooting the song "If I Could Love You." And he did the video for that. And so we were shooting that after I did my callback. We went to Times Square, shot part of that, and it just felt like something was truly coming full circle. And I really believed in my heart to heart that this role was made for me. And I had never felt that and that confidence ever. And so I'm taking the bus back home. But before I'm taking the bus, I'm walking down Times Square, and everything just feels unreal. And I'm thanking God in advance. Like, I'm believing that this is for me, and I'm praying, and I'm saying, God, like, I receive this. If this is my time, I receive this. And I hop on the bus back home, and the next week later, I booked the role. And the only difference between off Broadway and Broadway is actually just the size of the theater. So
Mm.
off Broadway is a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate, but both are great things to have on your resume. I was honored to be a part of that cast. It was a beautiful journey. I had learned so much about myself during that time, and I had grown so much as an artist and as an actor during that time. Um, and the cast was just so unique because it was only cast of 5 people, and
Hmm.
we were pretty much on stage the entire time. And I got to do some of my favorite songs. I grew up singing, like, I got to sing "I Have Nothing" by Whitney Houston. I got to sing "Tyrone" by Erica Badu. My character had some very interesting range to her. Um, and to be able to tell that story every night was just a dream that I am praying and believing that I will be getting back to really soon. And so, unfortunately, the show closed. In when was it? I think it was May of last year. And then I had just continued to pursue my artistry, continued auditioning, back to the grind again. And now I believe that last year was the year of planting seeds. And now this year is the year to reap the harvest. So we'll see what happens. But it's been a journey, and it all takes time. And I think with this business, you never know when your show's going to close. And so you just have to live in that moment and enjoy every second, every second.
Wow.
Mhm.
Again, just every time you speak, there's just so much in there that I really feel like people need to go back and watch this interview, 2 and 3 times,
Yeah.
because you talked about faith, and for you, like, what, because faith, it what for you, what to you is faith? Like, what is faith for you? And
Mhm.
because it's not just a belief, it's a feeling, right? It's an understanding, it's a knowing. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, my faith in Christ is everything. It's my foundation. It's what gives me peace. It's my center. Without God, I don't know where I would be. He has kept me through so much and just showed me time and time again, even when the odds were against me, that um, I'm in my purpose. And it's been a journey, even through, this first year of living in New York, coming up, and everything that I've had to handle on my own for the first time, living on my own and handling so many other things financially, and just growing through that journey, and knowing at the end of the day, even when things don't make sense, he's still there, and he's still going to provide a way. And so God, I feel I have relied on heavily, but more and more in this season of my life than I ever have before.
And this is the season. I think a lot of people feel this way, that this is the season where it's all coming together. It's being manifested. It's being brought forward. We're able to experience it. It's tangible. Uh, that's that's what this year is for you, and that's what this year is for a lot of people. Would you say that's right?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
Yeah, people are tired of being tired. They've been struggling, they've been sacrificing, and now they want to make it mean something. They want to have something to show for it. So
Yeah.
I just think everything that you said was amazing there. You
Thank
you
you.
mentioned your boyfriend and shooting the video because I really want to show this video. Uh,
Yes.
what was that like being able to share that with him and having that sort of intimacy and your music? And talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So If I Could Love You is a song that I originally wrote partially when we first met. I made the show at the end of my senior year in college called Life Room, and it only had the chorus of If I Could Love You. And this was the start of me and Xavier's journey. And it had some poetry in between. So after that, the song evolved with our relationship, and I was able to write more and talk about what things would look like if I could love him. And you can hear that a little bit more in the song. And he is a videographer, and so it was really beautiful being able to bring this piece together with video and to show what that journey could look like and where we are today. Now we're going on 4 years in May.
4 years.
Yeah,
That's so special and such an amazing story.
thank
Let's play that video now because I want people to hear this.
great.
If I could love you, I'd be all that you need. If I could love you, I'd take care of every need. If I could love you, I would never leave. When I wake up and see your face, I smile, and I feel your warm embrace. I cry when your hands run down my face. I stop, 'cause there's nowhere I'd rather be than here in your arms. And everything inside of me cries out for your heart. If I could love you, I'd be all that you need. If I could love you, I'd take care of every need. If I could love you, I would never leave. It's amazing what love can do. Lately, all that's on my mind is you, baby. The first night we met, I believed in love again. When you came up to me and asked, do you wanna dance? I said yes. Do you wanna dance? I said yes. And love has a funny way of coming.
Wow. Wow. So everybody watching this, you see why I said that her voice is just amazing. It's hypnotic, it's calming, there's hope.
Thank
And I know that one of your sort of central tenets is healing the world through music.
you. Yes.
And it sounds like part of that is through love, right? I mean, just A1 quality video, the songs there, the lyrics are there. It's the total thing. It's the thing. So,
Thank
wow,
you.
thank you so much for sharing that. What do you want to say about that song or anything that I've mentioned so far?
Yeah, this song has been a pivotal part of my journey in life and in love. And I think that um, today, especially, I think the message of love is so important, of true love, and that it can still happen. Um, and yeah, I think that it's beautiful. There's this one part that my aunt was listening to, and she was like, "Oh, I understand this now." And it's the part where I asked him, "Do you want to dance?" Or he asked me, "Do you want to dance?" And I said, "Yes." "Do you want to dance?" I said, "Yes." So me and my boyfriend actually met salsa dancing, which is pretty cool. But she was like, "I take that figuratively, but then I also take it as like, do you want to do this thing called life together? Do you want to
Right.
do this dance called life?" And she was just saying the way that you wrote that is absolutely beautiful. And she was like, I don't know if everybody's gonna pick up on that, but she's like, I got it. And I was like, I'm glad you did. And that has been exactly what we've done is done this thing dancing through life and just through all of the beautiful moments and the ugly moments and just growing together because we change and we grow over these 4 years and it's embracing and loving and accepting those changes and making sure that you definitely still inspire each other through those changes and motivate each other. So yeah, it's a
Wow.
beautiful song and it's beautiful to see how things are today.
Right. I mean, these last 4 years again have been like more like 6 or 8 or even 10 years, right? And
Yeah.
in dancing and in dancing, one partner at a time is leading, right? But you also have to accept being led, right? And so there's this fluidity about it. There's an acceptance. There's a trust that has to happen, that they're not going to step on your toe, that they're not going to knock you over, that they're not going to leave you at the
Yeah.
dance. And so dance, I think, is such a wonderful analogy. And so you're combining again all these different elements, and I think it's really special. During this pandemic, I watched this documentary, and maybe hopefully, if you haven't seen it, I hope a lot of folks go out and see it. But it's about Mr. Ronald Levin Carter, who has had a career. I mean, we're talking 50, 60 years. He's a jazz double bassist, and he's been credited on over 2,000 tracks. And so I don't know if this happens to be someone you're familiar with, but he's won 3 Grammy Awards. I mean, we're talking about just someone who's committed their whole life, and he doesn't get it right every time. And he plays with the music, and he learns something new every time he hears something or every time he plays something. But there's
Mm,
always this drive to improve, even at his age.
yeah.
And he never backs down, as you could say, from the challenge. And he was talking about how challenging it's been. But I mean, he's in his 80s, and he got on Zoom, and he learned to set all these things up with the cameras and the
Oh my
technology.
gosh, that's amazing.
And if he's doing it, like what's the excuse that any of us have,
Mm,
right? So just I don't know that everyone can really understand, for an artist, for a musician, someone that loves to be with people, that makes a living from performing, how challenging the last couple of years have been for them. And I'm sure you've seen it with your own friends and family, that folks, not even just about the money, really about the connection.
yeah.
Did you want to say anything about that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been so hard. Because I feel like for me, I found my voice through the arts. And so to almost in a sense have that silenced
Mm,
um was really hard because that was my form of connection. That was my form of connecting people and telling a story. And there's just something so beautiful about live theater that you can't duplicate anywhere
mm,
else. it's going to be different every single night. And the beauty of that, I feel, was stripped away those past 2 years, unfortunately. And somehow, some people were still able to do it. Some people were still able to hold theater. We were just masked up. Like, I, for one, did Heather's during the pandemic, and I was masked up for the performance. I definitely wouldn't recommend, but um, we made it work. So yeah, it was definitely a challenge, but we conquered, overcame, and now it's living with the new norm of COVID, because
Mm.
performers are still dealing with it. And now, even now, it's not mandatory for people to wear masks in the theaters, and so those performers are always putting themselves at risk, for the greater good, and for the stories to be told. And so it's definitely I feel, a thankless job, but one that we all still desire to have.
Wow. Exactly. And we've got a lot of people. Thank you for your message. A lot of people tuning in here, and that's really
Hi,
special. Thank
everybody.
you for supporting.
Yes.
Yeah, and so you've had some support. You've had some really great advice. Any bad advice that you maybe want to highlight, or something that the folks that are listening that want to reach out to you, that want to get some coaching, some mentoring, some tips that you'd give for them of things to just avoid maybe along the way?
Okay. Any tips to avoid?
Yeah, things to avoid, like maybe some bad advice that you got,
Yeah.
or some falls along the way that you would sort of give advice, or maybe the younger you, 5, 10 years ago, wish you had known.
Yeah. Listen to your support group, and don't listen to the
Mm.
people that are projecting their fears on you or their
Wow.
regrets. There has definitely been times where people that I know that love me were very fearful of my career choice, and were saying, why don't you just get a 9 to 5? Why don't you just go into teaching full time? Why don't you get a corporate job? And I was like, that's not where God has called me to be. And I don't care how long it takes. I know it's a part of my journey, and I'm willing to be patient and wait for those doors to open. So I think the biggest thing is, like, making sure that you discern who is guiding you in the right direction, and make sure that you keep your distance from the people that are not, um, and the people that are just projecting their fears, because it is a scary business to go into, but you have to pursue it wholeheartedly. If you're looking to go into musical theater, get the training earlier on, get the training in voice and
Mm.
acting and dancing for sure. But get a head start on it, and just learn as much as you can about the business so you can be as knowledgeable as possible.
So you got to be coachable, right? So amateurs wing it, the professionals get coaches. I just think it's so interesting. You wouldn't imagine an Olympic athlete just showing up and jumping in the pool and then breaking a world record, right?
Yeah.
Especially those who want to operate at that elite level.
Yeah.
It's their life, it's their lifestyle, it's what they're focused on. And you mentioned the word discernment. I mean,
Mm.
again, just such a powerful thing that you said, knowing what's for you and not getting distracted by the things that are not for you.
Yeah.
Because in this world, attention is the number one currency. Everybody wants your attention. Everyone wants to throw their fears on you, as you said. Everyone wants to distract you away from the things that are meant for you, and sometimes they don't even know they're doing it. And so, just having that discernment, trusting yourself, keeping those small promises to yourself, building up that trust again and again, is just so critical to anyone who wants to put themselves out there. So I appreciate you sharing that. And as we're starting to wrap up, I want to share one more song. Before we do that, do you want to quickly share where people can find you?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at Montria Walker, Montria Walker, all one word. And then you can also find me on Twitter at Montria Walker as well. I have videos up on YouTube. You can find me on all music platforms at Montria, Montria. And the songs that I have out right now are If I Could Love You and Fight. Don't Ever Let It Go is my new single coming out January 27th on all platforms as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that, but definitely give me a follow.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd encourage everyone to follow along with your journey and support. It sounds like something really amazing is going to happen on the 27th. Who, speaking of things coming up, I mean, who ideally or in sort of a dream like or a goal or whatever it might be, like, who do you want to collaborate with next?
Ooh, who would I like to collaborate with?
Hmm.
I would like to collaborate with Jacob Collier.
Okay.
One day, one day I would love, love, love. He is a musical genius.
Okay.
If you guys aren't familiar with him, definitely look up his work. He's collaborated with incredible artists like Lizzie McAlpine, um, and he's just he's a genius. He plays so many different instruments. Um, he's like a one-man band when he does his concerts. It's incredible. So definitely check him out. I would love to collab with him.
Yeah, Jacob, if you're hearing this, I didn't expect that answer, but you heard it here first, folks, on
Hey,
Variety
guys.
Vibes Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, please, if you know this man, get a hold of him. He's uber talented, and we've got someone especially talented, living in their gifts, living in their purpose. So let's make that happen, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So right before we get it in, real quick, just a quick Q&A, rapid fire, no long answers, one word. I know I didn't give this to you in advance. Like, we're just gonna go with it. Right? So what's your favorite movie?
Ooh, Jingle Jangle.
Jingle Jangle? That's a good one. Dream Destination?
Oh. Tokyo.
Amazing place. I've been there. I used to live in Japan. So dream destination, and then along those lines, favorite animal.
Ooh. Leopard.
The leopard. That's a cool choice. Favorite dessert? Do you eat dessert?
Yes, I do. Favorite dessert. Strawberry shortcake.
Oh wow, classic. Good choice. Simple. And last one. What book are you reading?
Ooh, Michelle Obama.
Ah, another classic. Great sort of postmodern choice. Let's get that loaded up here. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about this next song?
Yeah,
Fire.
so this next song is called Fight, and it talks about just working through relationship, fighting for each other, when it gets hard. So that's what this one is about.
And how did you film it? Was it your boyfriend as well? Is this
So
something that you
this one I actually didn't film. This one is just the vocals.
did?
But hopefully we'll be able to put some visuals to it soon.
Awesome. And so let's listen to Fight.
Fight for me the way you fight for you, 'cause you're keeping me down. Fight for me the way you fight for you, 'cause you're keeping me down. Our love is worth it, and our love can make it. If everything should die, I promise we'll survive. Our love is endless, and our love's forgiven. If everything was right, would it be worth the fight? Oh, fight for me the way you fight for you, 'cause you're keeping me down. Oh, fight for me the way I fight for you, 'cause you're keeping me down. Our love is healing, our love's unchanging. Our hearts and souls are tied. I put my pride aside. I need you right now. I'm bleeding for you. Everything is on the line. What we gonna do? Hold me close. Don't let this love 'cause you're keeping me down.
Wow, just so soulful and so effortless. The message that I sort of took away, and let me know if I missed the mark, but giving everything, because a relationship is not 50-50, right? You're 100% responsible for what you bring on not just one time, but on a daily basis. It's really easy to sort of be excited about a relationship when it's convenient for you, but that's not going to work,
Yeah.
right? And so being consistent, and not necessarily loving someone more, but loving them better, and
Yeah.
being willing to do that on a daily basis. Just so powerful and so timely for folks, because a lot of us coming out of this pandemic don't know how to interact with other
Yeah.
people, and especially for young people, they've got so many of these emotions and these feelings, and they haven't had a way to really learn how to manage that and learn how to interact with their peers. So just incredibly special. I want to give you a chance, if you'd like. Is there anyone that's been supporting you lately or always, or someone just that you've met recently that you want to sort of shout out and just show some appreciation to them?
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, there's so many people, but I would like to first and foremost thank God. I would love to thank my managers, Harrell Whitby. I would love to thank my mom and my dads, and um, I would love to thank, oh goodness, so many people, my grandparents, my whole family, my brothers. I would love to thank the producer for Fight, and the producer for If I Could Love You. They're both incredible, Brian Cook and Vanta. Oh my goodness, Vanta is only, I believe, 20 years old, and he produced the music for Fight. He's incredible. He's a genius. He does so many different genres, and he has his own music out as well. And it's, I believe, V4NTA. You can check him out. He has a whole new album out. Um, and who else would I like to thank? All of my best friends, my mentors, and my church back at home, Celebration Church. Um, yeah, that's all I can think of right now. And if I'm missing anyone, please charge the head, not the heart. But there's so many people to thank that have supported me through this journey, and it wouldn't have been possible without them. So
That's amazing. I mean, this
yeah,
45 minutes has just flown by. Again, I hope everyone goes back and watches it 2 and 3 times. If you didn't know Montria Walker, you do now. She's performed off Broadway. She's performed internationally. She got her start in the church. She has some amazing music, and even more on the way. Her best days are ahead of her. She's grateful. She's appreciative. I mean, what more can you ask for here? Her social media is there. Please, please, please follow her, share her. Thank you so much for everyone that tuned in. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much to Variety Vibes Radio for making this possible and for inviting me to be a guest interviewer. I hope you had as great of a time as I did. Really special today, and thankful to have met you, and I hope that we get the chance to get to know each other better. I'll be clapping for you all the way. Any last words, Montria, before we sign off?
yeah, just thank you, Variety Vibes Radio. Thank you for your time and doing this interview. And so excited to see what God has in store for us this year.
Amazing. Happy New Year, everyone.